Now
Yeah,
moving to
thank
our
you.
now moving to our third session. It will be conducted by Dr. Vandana Gravle. I would like to brief introduce ma'am. She is a currently professor of pharmaceutics at the ICT Institute Technology, Mumbai, India. She has around 30 years of teaching and research experience. She has over 200 referred publications with over 8277 citations. H index 46, I10 index is 111, 17 granted patents, 22 patents in pipeline, and 2 trademark registries. She has published 2 books and 25 book chapter with international publisher. Dr. Patravale has been active in teaching, research and service throughout her career. Her areas of research include development of nanocarriers with major emphasis on infectious disease, cancer and neurodegenerative disorders, medical device development, nanodiagnostics, and nanovaccines. She was awarded Fellowship of Indian Chemical Society in 2020, Kukreja Oriation Award in 2020, APTI's Dr. Manjushri Pal Best Pharmaceutical Scientist Award in 2019, Sri Amrut Modi Distinguished Researcher Award in 2018, OPPI Women Scientist Award in 2015, Bill Melinda Gates Grant Award in 2015, Best Pharmaceutical Scientist Award in 2014, Vasvik Award in 2013, Veneto Nanotech Award in 2013, APTI Best Teacher Award in 2012, Fellowship of Maharashtra Academy of Science in 2011, and K.H. Garda Distinguished Researcher Award in 2009. She is a Vice President at CRS Indian Chapter, Editorial Board Member DDTR, Editor CRS IC and APTI Women Forum newsletters. She is actively collaborating with researchers as well as industries within country and abroad, and also has completed Indo-Swiss, Indo-Japan, Indo-UK projects. She is executing all major grants from Indian government focusing on product development. She has transferred about 20 technologies to industries, including drug eluting stunts being marketed in more than 65 countries. It is our privilege to have you, ma'am. With this brief introduction, on behalf of all of us, I kindly request you to deliver a talk on topic strategies for effective research grant writing. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, dear madam, for kind words of introduction. And at outset, I would definitely like to thank Professor P.D. Chaudhary as well as the coordinator, Professor Patak from PES's Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigadi. I'm. Can you stop sharing so that I can share my screen, please?
Yes, ma'am. You are a host now. You can share your screen.
Kindly confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible.
Thank you so much. So today the topic which Professor Chaudhary wanted me to talk on is strategies for effective research grant writing. And obviously, when we talk about research grant writing, we need to make sure what is our funding objective. Whether we are asking grant for doing lab work or research, or are we writing grants for creating infrastructure in colleges or university setups? It could also be that once you are satisfied with the kind of research you are doing and you have built up enough infrastructure, you could work in areas which are really niche areas. So in that case, it becomes center of excellence proposals. One could also write grant basically as a student, and that could be for student grants. Of course, hand holding has to be done by research guides. So these grants could be either for pursuing higher studies like PhD or postdoctoral research, or they could also be for travel, etc. There are many programs which are bilateral between India and many of the countries. So half the work of PhD your students can do in India, and some part of the work, duration being from 1 month to 6 months, they can do it in other countries too. And then, of course, if everything would start looking at whether they can generate incubation centers. These are the centers where if there are any student entrepreneurs, they would be really encouraged to utilize facilities of the college or the institute or the university and generate technologies which will have translational potential. Just give me a second. Slide is not moving ahead. So levels of funding can be at institute level. It could be to the faculty members. It could be faculty doing postdoctoral studies, or it could be student doing postdoctoral studies. And of course, PhD opportunities for research students too. Funding agencies can be broadly divided into national bodies and international bodies. Of course, if you're looking at sources from national bodies, it could be government sources or non-government sources. In non-government sources, typically, you could look at certain private trusts. For example, there is Suresh Kare Trust, which sponsors research. There is Fair and Lovely Trust, which sponsors research, especially for girl students and so on. It could be ACG or SciTech Center, which is also providing money to do research. It could be different industries who would come to you for doing the project they want you to get involved with, depending on your expertise. Or it could be certain NGOs or venture capitalists who have actually identified you as a good researcher and they would like to pump state funded. But that doesn't stop us from generating grant from central government bodies. So we keep on writing and getting grants from central government. International also, you can divide it in the same way. It could be the government, that's federal, could be private sources, non-government sources, and some of the universities abroad, they have grants within university. For example, Creighton University, where many of our students go, it's a private university which gives a lot of grant to even master's students. So typically, you know that when your students go for PhD, they have full fellowship abroad. But when they go for MS, they need to pay from their own pocket or they take loan and go. But there are universities, keep in mind, even in US, which will give funding. So it could be utilized really very, very effectively. Which are the national funding agencies? You can have funding from DST. Lot of funding opportunities actually in COVID times have come from DST. And you can visit, in fact, websites of both DST as well as Department of Biotechnology to get which grants are running, be it extramural grants, be it some bilateral grants or DBT also works very closely with BIRAC, and there, if you have industrial partner, obviously the grant opportunities are much more. But what I would like to tell my pharmacy teacher friends is that we come under life sciences. So nothing stops us from applying grants from ICAR, which is agricultural research. So if you do have some projects where you are, say, making control release pesticides, or you are making some sprays, you can also go to ICAR. It could be those who are working in chemistry may have some new moieties which they want to test. Those who are working in cognosy may have certain herbal extracts which may be having larvicidal activity. So all of us can actually look at ICAR as a funding agency too. And not to mention, I'm sure all of you know about CSIR. Typically, those students who are keen to do PhD with you, but they do not have university or government grants to take it through, you can guide them to write CSIR or ICMR projects, and they will get fellowship at least for minimum period of 3 years. Many times, one additional year is granted, so they get for 4 years. And another granting agency which I would like to focus is Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. So under that, you do have Department of Atomic Energy, or you can say BRNS grant. Only thing is that you need to identify who will be your partner from DAE. The partner doesn't get anything except for small travel, but you can get the seed money to start your research to the tune of about 15 to 20 lakhs. So obviously the project could be something which either utilizes gamma irradiation, it could be making RIA kits, it could be making novel drug delivery systems which are tagged with radionuclides so that you can do preclinical studies and so on. Not to forget DRDO, and those of you who are in Pune cannot forget this, because DRDO also funds, but of course your project has to be such that it focuses on needs of defense employees. So can you make some, say, ointment which they can carry with them and it protects them from sunburns? Or can it be something which has insecticidal action much, much better than whatever is existing in the market? So there are various avenues in which you can actually submit. On the international side also, you have various funding agencies. In fact, I've given lectures during lockdown under the banner of APTI, and Professor Chaudhary knows that well. And I'm sure those slides would be available, in-depth slides would be available at APTI site along with video. So here I'm just touching on some of them. My main topic is strategies for grant writing, but it's important to touch on certain important areas where you can get funding from. So UKIRI, obviously, as it is written here, it is UK India Education and Research Initiative. So you can find out a collaborator in UK and do work. For example, when we wrote UKIRI project, we did hot melt extrusion based platform technology we developed for many nutraceuticals, including curcumin, ellagic acid, resveratrol, and many. Because it was platform technology, we could add any moiety belonging to BCS class 2 or class 4. So it was not only restricted to nutraceuticals, it was extended even to synthetic moieties. And what did we do in UK? So having developed the technology here, when we worked with the University of Bradford in UK, we did PAT assisted analysis. That is using process analytical tools. They have production scale hot melt extruder, which has inline or online XRD. So that way you exactly know whether your drug has got solubilized, whether it has changed the form from crystalline state to amorphous state, and which particular module of HME. So besides the grant, the student got to stay there in University of Bradford for about 3 months. In addition, we had, because it was UCARI program, we could conduct certain seminars and conferences both on India side as well as on UK side. So what did UK people get, you may ask? They also were interested in the technology which we had developed on supercritical extraction. So their students got trained on it and our students got trained on HME. So likewise, you have grant from DAD. DAD, for example, is from Germany, and you may not know, it gives around 1 lakh grant to students for pursuing their higher studies in Germany. That means 1 lakh students are identified. What is the requirement? Of course, these students should know basics of German language. So it is a German academic exchange service with supports from Germany, and students get about 1,200 euros per year, of course, plus they get the travel. Similarly, there are many grants like Welcome Grant, if I have to talk about. This is the most coveted grant which faculty can get. So what do you get in Welcome Grant? Besides getting your salary, you can in fact get seed money, and that money is, I am saying seed money, but it is of the tune of 15 to 50 lakhs per year for supporting your research. So that is over and above what you're getting as a salary. If students are applying Welcome Grant, it supports their 4-year studentship either in UK or in Ireland in the areas of basic sciences, chemical sciences, could be health sciences where pharmacy comes, and they get about 80,000 pounds for 4 years. And what is the modus operandi? Only interviews. So if you go to each of these, which I have listed, Cefipra is from France, BRICS is again from Canada. So if you look at these, Matsume, the name suggests, is from Japan. You will find the procedures for application. So all you need to do is begin. So once you start, there is no looking back. You may say, where do I get information on all these grants? So do I have to open all the sites, DST, DBT, ICAR, DRDO? Then you have these international? No. Just open this particular site, indiabioscience.org, and you'll get continuous scrolling of all the grants which are available right now. That means you'll get the last date for application too. So complete database of upcoming funding calls. Then there are incubation centers, as I told. Incubation centers. In Mumbai, we are lucky to have 2 incubation centers. We have also written a biocluster project. And biocluster project, government is supporting now. Each of the state will have one, and Pune is again lucky because they already have a cluster project going on at NCL. In Mumbai ICT, IIT Mumbai, TIFR, ECTRIC, KEM, all of them are coming together to have a biocluster, which that means we can use each other's facilities and strengthen our research. So there are grants even for incubation. Coming to the main topic, which is what are the writing strategies? For some reason, I'm not able to go to my next slide. So every time I need to press next. What you need to do is first identify what would be your field of research. see whether you have already generated proof of concept in that, or it is a new area where you'd like to venture in. Depending on that, you decide what budget you are going to keep. Because if it is the beginning, obviously government is not going to give you huge funding. But if you have proof of concept, you can go to the tune of 1 to 1.5 crore. No one stops you. And in fact, they look forward to such projects where POC already is in place so that they can support preclinical or clinical studies. Also keep in mind what is the expected tenure you want to work with. Now, for example, when we wrote a project for COVID diagnostic, we knew we had to be fast. So the project we wrote was for 8 months. I request Sudhakar to mute himself, please. So you need to actually look at what is the tenure you should be asking for. For vaccine, COVID vaccine, when we wrote proposal, we wrote it for 3 years because it will take time. So accordingly, decide the tenure, and this tenure will also get reflected in the budget which you submit. For example, again, taking the same example, when I wrote for COVID diagnostic, budget is 20 lakhs. And when I'm writing, because the time which I've said is time frame, which I've said is 8 months. But when I'm writing for vaccine, which is for 3 years, a budget is 55 lakhs. So it definitely gets reflected. And also look at whether there is any need for collaboration. In fact, I very strongly say that you should be identifying very, very strong collaborators. Once you've done that, you need to find prospective grants. And I've already told you where can you find which grants are available. So do not miss that, indiabioscience.org. Decide whether you want to write for national or international grants. We are typically stuck here. No, I have seen that most of the Indians would want to apply only to the government, Indian government. My request, earnest request to all of you, please apply for international grants too. They are much more easier to apply and get. How do you select where to apply? Obviously, key is to read the grant proposal call. You should know the scope of that proposal very well, and then see how can you fit within the scope. For example, there was a grant proposal asked by DBT on sea buckthorn. I had not heard of this plant sea buckthorn earlier. So as soon as I saw the grant proposal call, I did some search, and sea buckthorn is nothing but leh berries. Berries which are orange colored from Leh Ladakh region. Government had sent a call because they saw that these berries were getting wasted, because all local people are doing there is making a juice and drinking it. So they asked for call of proposal. I knew that all the pharma fraternity would look at what would be the implications in disease treatments. So we always like to, look at the other way, out of the box thinking, as it is called. We brainstormed and thought, let's look at whether it has any cosmetic applications. And to our surprise, we came to know when we looked at the ingredients which are there in sea buckthorn that has very unique kind of fatty acid composition. So we proposed it as anti-aging, and that came through. So what was the proposal on? We would take the berries, we'll standardize the process of drying so that all the actives can be retained. And after that, we will be formulating nanostructured lipid carrier based gel formulations. Remember, sea buckthorn, it's orange colored. So the product which was there in the market at that time, nothing in Indian market, but some products were there in European market. Their shelf life was 6 months. That means the product was getting degraded over a period of time. So we identified unmet need and put in a proposal. So what I'm trying to tell you is, look at the scope, but think out of the box. See How can you fit within that scope? So since there was only one single proposal from cosmetics, it did come through. Use keywords from the call itself. Then there are better chances of getting shortlisted. Also, look at whether you are at ideation stage, as I mentioned earlier, proof of concept stage, or you have also finished proof of concept. You finished even preclinical studies and you are sure that it is going to work. So in that case, of course, you would be applying for grant, which is translational grant. That means identifying industrial partner and seeing how you can help to translate, the technology which you have made to industry. Look at GYTI grant. We get hardly any pharma people applying for Gandhi Young Technology Innovation Grant. Year after year, our students are bagging it. But again, I request all of you, if you have any good idea, see that you apply for GYTI grant. You know, what do students get? Directly in their account, they'll get 15 lakh of rupees in students' account. And they are free to use it the way they want for chemicals, consumables, travel, whatever. Same way, BMG grant is another one which you should not miss, which is Bill Melinda Gates grant. You need to have proposals, very simple proposals which are cost effective and can benefit masses. Go to the grant site, take a look at what has been granted. You'll be amazed. You'll get n number of ideas, I'm telling you, if you read what is there on BMG's site. And from there on, you can decide which area you are interested in working on. How to start? Read the grants in toto, read all the guidelines, but make an outline. It's very important. See, all the granting authorities have similar guidelines, only the names may change here and there. So in fact, our lab, VBP Research Group, as you can see on all the slides, you'll see it's VBP Research Group, not VBP. VBP are my initials. The group works together. We brainstorm and we write projects and keep them ready. So as soon as there is any call, we are able to modulate it to the needs of the proposal and submit it. So it's not that once a proposal comes, then we start writing. So do that, because that way you will be making your proposal better and better in terms of grammar, in terms of content. I'll show you what are the evaluation parameters that will give you an idea that what needs to be done. For writing your proposal, always be specific. Don't be vague. So you cannot say that I will develop and evaluate transdermal drug delivery systems. That is what is vague. But if you say that I would be working on microneedle based delivery for anti-Alzheimer drug, it is little more specific. But if you say microneedle based delivery for, say, whatever, rivastigmine, which is anti-Alzheimer drug, it becomes very specific. So what I'm trying to say is be very specific, because that will give an idea to the evaluator what exactly you want to do. Identify collaborators. Now, for example, I have good knowledge about formulations. So I would identify collaborators if I want to work from pharmacology, because at the end of the day, it needs to get tested, and they will be the ones who would help me to develop the models. I could write a project wherein I start with the extraction. For example, the C. Buckthorn project, which I mentioned, where I involved a colleague of mine who had expertise in supercritical extraction. So from someone from pharmacognosy can be involved, someone from pharmacology can be involved. And if you are looking at some thrust area where you have some NCE, chemistry people can be involved. So what I'm trying to say is involve collaborators. For another project of mine, which was on malaria, I looked at TIFR because they had a biophysics department there. And I wanted to do tweezer studies to understand how my systems will behave. So it's very important to you identify collaborators, and even the granting authorities are looking at whether you have very strong collaborators or not. Which will be termed as strong collaborators? Those who have expertise already in that area. Know your audience. By this, we mean whom the proposal is going to go. Of course, you will not know the names, but keep in mind that most of the people who are evaluators come from basic sciences. So you have to write proposal in such a way that basic science people can also understand. Be up to date. So you cannot give references which are 10-year-old. Typically what I have seen, when I evaluate projects, I've seen people give 10-year-old references. In fact, references, if I am now in April 2021, it should be till 2021. I would appreciate if last 5 years references can be given. And one needs to follow whatever guidelines are there. So you cannot go away from there. Typical grant is organized in this way. There will be a title, summary, problem statement, which is also known as a hypothesis, literature review. There'll be a project narrative or the methodology. As I told you, the terms may be different, but contents are more or less going to remain these only. Personal requirements, that means who would be involved. First is PI and co-PIs. And then secondly, if you are actually appointing someone, what should be the quality criteria for that particular personnel also needs to be looked at. For every budget which you propose, you need to give justification. So as I mentioned earlier, the tenure and budget go hand in hand. So don't over budget yourself. Many times we write in the comments, if a person has asked for say 90 lakhs, we actually give the figure that not more than 40 can be given for this project. So be very just. And another thing which I would like to suggest, my friends who are here, don't try and put all the equipments in one project. In fact, when I started my research, I didn't have even a magnetic stirrer. I got seed money of 10,000. So we built up with magnetic stirrer, and now lab boasts of having everything, but we have gone stepwise. So don't ask 3 or 4 equipments, because obviously then the budget goes high. So go one by one, and surely you will get, once you have one grant from government agency and you give the good deliverables, obviously you will get other grants. So now one by one, look at title. It has to be simple and original, yet catchy. So as I told you, if you write development and evaluation of transdermal drug delivery system, it is simple, but it is not catchy. So see that it becomes very specific. At the end of the day, it is not English skill, but you need to let the evaluator know that this particular project means a lot to you. So all that has to come in title itself. And keep in mind, there are character limits. That means if I say word, W-O-R-D, it has 4 characters in it. So many times there's character limits. So abide by those character limits. They check in the preliminary check, it would definitely be ticked either right or wrong. So your proposal goes off if you're not following character limits. Great title does capture evaluators' attention. It has to be unique. And in fact, many times this decides the fate of acceptance, because a person who's reading will feel like reading what are the contents if title is good. Otherwise, they don't feel like moving forward from there. As far as project summary or whatever you say as abstract or origin, different terminologies being used by different granting authorities is concerned, see that just like you write a research paper, full research paper, and then write abstract, this also should be done in the same way. Write full project and then write your abstract, because abstract should be again succinct and specific. So the summary of your project has to come in this, because this lays very, very strong framework based on your preliminary work, And again, just like title, this also creates a first impression in evaluator's mind. Highlight what is the need of doing this project, what approach you are going to follow. In short, what methodology will you follow, and then what do you expect? You can see this brings out the total crux of your project. What is the need, unmet need? What is the approach which people have not followed and you are using? For that, what methodology you will be using and what would be the outcome? Also, use relevant keywords. Keywords 5 to 6 are preferred, so don't make them very broader. Already I have given you a tip. Pick them up from the research proposal itself and see how you can integrate them in your project. As far as problem statement is concerned, you should be very clear about what is the purpose of doing that particular research. And as I said, in the introduction, you would be writing about the disease condition, about the delivery systems which are present already, and then you will be coming to why do you think this particular technology which I am proposing is better? Whether there is any novelty, whether there is any originality, whether it's an unconventional path which you are using, these are the things which will govern whether your project goes forward or it doesn't go forward. So originality, there has been a survey which has been taken up, and it is 54% of time it would depend on whether your proposal is original or not. Otherwise, it will not move forward. Look at the objectives. See that you have only 3 to 4 key objectives. It should not be 10 objectives. Just like you write in thesis 10 objectives, don't do that. See that you can merge them together. If there is a 3-year project, 3 to 4 objectives are more than enough. Because those objectives, you need to have deliverables attached to it. So at the end of each year, when there is review committee meeting, they'll see whether you have achieved objective 1, 2, and 3, etc. Background, as I mentioned, last 5 years, background should be complete. Give a convincing rationale. Just like you make graphical abstract for your research paper, it's very important to have a very strong rationale or a very strong hypothesis. That means bring out the unmet need and highlight what is novelty of your project. How will you utilize your expertise in this particular area is important. So for that, you need to give your own publications. You might have certain patents. If you do not have expertise, no problem. As I said, collaborators may be having those expertise. So bring that in, but make your proposal really very, very strong. Literature survey, 5 years. Many people give what is happening nationally, but they forget to give international data. Both are equally important. And evaluators are not fooled. They have been given search engines, keep in mind. So many people I have seen, they will hide a particular reference which is ditto to work they are proposing. But using the search engines, we can clearly find out whether the work is original or not. So see that you give 5 years data, both national and international. And when I say data, this includes literature, but it also includes patents. So you can be very clear that right now there are no patents on this technology. That means in your outcomes, you can always put in that you will come out with some innovation and therefore you'll be able to patent your work. And you've heard now, last talk very clearly elucidated the importance of patents. Be very selective and critical. Follow consistent reference style. This can put off evaluators. If you're not following a consistent reference style, you know now there are softwares like Mendeley, EndNote, etc. Utilize them to put them in a consistent manner. Use typically for our proposals, we use what else we are using. So these need to be done and take care of all these things. One example I have given from SERB itself. I request all of you to go through high risk, high reward scheme of SERB. Why am I telling you? Because it clearly has indicated what is expected from you. When you're talking about origin of proposal, it is what is the scientific rationale of doing this work. See, in international status, they have written very clearly a correct and faithful description of international research status must be given. Why the authorities have to write this? Because they have seen that people are unethical. They are hiding references. So it is very important that you go through each and every of these points very critically. So you have to give a project outline. There is no word limit for this particular section in most of the grants. And therefore, what is expected of you is you give details of how each of objectives will be addressed. That means methodology has to be given in detail. You can't say particle size and PDI, put a semicolon and say zeta size are used. No. What would be in-depth methodology which you are going to follow? If it is animal experimentation, can you give a schematic as to when will be the administration, when will be the evaluation? All those details need to be given in this particular project narrative. Anyone saying anything? Try and cover these following points for each specific aim, and they include the overview, the research design, expected outcome. Always keep alternate approaches ready. For example, again, taking example of COVID vaccine, which we are developing, we recently had a review committee meeting wherein I'm utilizing a natural material for formation of intranasal vaccine. But I've kept a backup strategy using US FDA approved polymer. So I'm working simultaneously. So I told them that though my primary emphasis is on using indigenous polymer, why? Because I want to make it cost effective. I'm keeping the back alternate approach ready and I'm simultaneously working on it. And believe me, the authorities were really happy that we are giving them much more than what is written in the project. Methodology, as I said, has to be in depth. You can use the schemes, tables, figures, equations. Don't limit yourself here. Another important criteria which they will judge you on is what impact your technology will have on environment. So please keep in mind, nowadays we are talking about carbon footprint every now and then. So please see how can you protect the environment. Expertise of your collaborators, of yourself, you need to bring out in a para. So write and keep that ready. You need not write it just one day before. Keep that ready. So as to say how your expertise would be useful for this particular project. Plus, they ask you for which role and responsibility each of the investigator will have. So schematic helps there. You can say that this person is going to do extraction followed by pharmacology, then it will come to me for formulation. Again, it goes back to pharmacology person for evaluation. And if it doesn't work, it goes back to extraction person for further standardizing. So such roles and responsibilities could be in terms of tables, it could be in terms of schematics also, it helps. As far as personnel or man force is desired, you need to really keep in mind as to what you are going to ask for. So what are the qualifications of people? Very clear it should be to you. Budget would govern how many people you want to employ for that particular project. Those of you who have written grants know that most of the budget would be eaten up by number of SRFs or JRFs you are proposing. So See whether there's a need. Recently, we wrote a proposal between 3 institutes and 1 industry. How many research fellow did we ask? Only 2. 1 with industry and 1 research fellow who will coordinate with all 3 institutes. So look at that very critically, because then you have scope for asking much more for other things. And one student definitely can work very closely with 2 to 3 institutions. What is the role of personnel? Make them understand during interview and select only those people who are really willing to put in time. Later on, they should not say that they had to work for 12 to 18 hours. So discuss it during interview, look at their mindset, look at their attitude, and then select these people. And of course, see whether you require for your project JRF or SRF. No one stops you for asking for SRF. Typically, I've seen people asking for first 2 years for JRF, third year they ask for SRF. Whereas we ask directly for SRF, and if possible, even for RA, which could be postdoctoral fellow. It could be research assistant who need not get a degree. So decide depending on what particular project it is. Already I have told you about, you need to balance between tenure and the budget. So make a PERT chart. PERT chart is nothing but time activity chart, and see that the tenure you give by way of which your work becomes feasible. It should not be very short tenure. It should not be very long tenure. It should reflect on coordination of activities and always keep buffer time. Who knew COVID would result in so many lockdowns, right? So the projects which we have written earlier, we always keep about 30 to 40% buffer time. So keep that in mind always. Of course, lab is open for students who are working on COVID related projects, even in lockdown. So that kind of authority your leaders at the top should have, and they have allowed entry of those students. So our work doesn't stop. As far as budget is concerned, it should be appropriate and necessary. Always acquire quotes in advance, because many times you need to give these quotes actually to these granting authorities. You need to upload quotes. And your completeness of proposal, this is one criteria, whether you provided quotes, whether you provided ethical committee clearances. They will look at each of these aspects and justify application of resources and see that you are complying with upper limit. For example, when I'm writing a proposal, institute gets about 25% share. So if I write an industrial proposal, they get 25% overhead. But if it is a government proposal, some proposals don't give more than 10%. So look at that and accordingly frame your proposal. Then you need to give list of whatever facilities are existing. Keep in mind, they will look very critically at this. So if facility is there in the institute or in college with other PI, you will have to justify why you are asking again. So I remember my AICT project where I had written for HPLC. At that time, ICT Pharma department had only 2 HPLCs. And our lab has typically, 15 to 20 students at any given time. I gave them the statistics. When does turn of one student come? Considering that any given time, there are 150 research students working in pharma department. So they had no option but to give me HPLC. But of course, they made sure it would be available for all other students too. So this way we got HPLC, not only with UV detector, with RI detector, fluorescent detector, and also later on, I could even add through another project, I could add auto sampler. So don't ask, as I said, everything in one go. You can ask one by one. So you need to give facilities which are existing with PIs, with co-PIs. Coming to the last part, which is expected outcome. Again, here you need to follow character limits and see that you give objective-wise outcomes. So at the end of first objective, what will you get? Because they become your deliverables. So It has to be timeline based. Justify, of course, the project rationale. See that you have enlisted all the relevant endpoints. Your project should obviously reflect the completeness, and see that you do have planned contingency even for alternate approaches. You know now, PLGA, how expensive that polymer is. And if I'm saying that vaccine I'll be making using conventional indigenous polymer, it will be very cheap, but PLGA, it would be very expensive. So money which you are asking in consumable should cater even to PLGA. So keep that in mind. Very important. What are the evaluation criteria? Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, novelty, originality, unconventional behavior, innovation, that is what they will look at. And very quick search they do on their own, the evaluators do on their own. And most of them will do it, It's not that they read only your project, they do their own search. Then comes to relevance. Relevance could be general, academic, or non-academic. By non-academic, I mean whether the research which you will be doing, whether it will help policymakers, whether it will help government in any way, whether it help industry in any way. So that relevance also they look at. So your words which you write in the project need to revolve around both academic relevance, wherein you are saying, you are doing novel work, and therefore it has relevance because you are taking science to the next level. But non-academic, please do not forget. Rigor. By rigor, what is meant is methodology. Whether you are aware what are the rigors of doing this particular project in time. So that would be one evaluation criteria. Another is coherence, justification. That means if you're writing that you have 3 co-PIs, whether you're working as a coherent team, whether it is justifiable or it is only namesake that you've taken co-PIs. So please justify which part of work who would be doing, so that the authorities know that this particular budget which I'm sanctioning, which can go about 2.5 crores, is justifiable. Individual level, they'll see whether you have the motivation, the ambition to do this project. And the kind of words which you use in the project, they can make that out. Whether you are really keen, motivated enough to do work. Obviously, they'll also look at quality, clarity, and I told you completeness. Now, completeness includes whether you have given all the backup, whatever they wanted in PDF format. Many times people, they submit projects and they do not submit ethical committee clearance, but it's okay, you don't submit, but tell them by when will you be able to provide them, because we all know it takes time. Sometimes people have institute, that means PI institute's letter, but they don't have co-PI's institute's letter to be uploaded. That is incomplete project. See that in advance, you tell them that this is a must and keep that ready. And of course, look at appropriateness of the work. They will look at appropriateness of the work, meaning it is making any sense, whether it will be leading to diversity. When I say diversity, obviously they look at whether it would be globally useful or not, and whether it is feasible in the time frame in which you have given. So these are few. With this, I would like to actually move on. I'll pass on this particular presentation to the authorities, but I will move on very quickly to the case studies. The first case studies from SERB co-research grant. What I want to focus is that this is individual centric. Co-research grant is individual centric. It is not at the institutional level, and very clearly they say that who is eligible and who is not. So you need to read these guidelines really very well. Important thing is about plagiarism. See that there is no plagiarism of any kind, not from any thesis whatsoever. You know that Shodh Ganga has it all now, not from any research papers even. So plagiarism in any form is not acceptable. They will give you the how you need to apply everything online. what are the documents which are required, but I would suggest that you keep adding the dummy matter. Many times, some of the things which you require are not in this list. I have seen that myself because I load the projects myself. So I told you about the SERP project. We have written one even for veterinary use, and that's novel foot to mouth disease vaccine. This is nasal vaccine. So we got grant, which is a huge grant, in fact, because industry partner is also involved. So does my work stop here once I get the acceptance letter? Answer is no. Work doesn't stop after getting approval letter, because many times they ask for many additional documents. So within 20 days, you see, I have highlighted, within 20 days, I had to furnish so much. And then obviously you need to coordinate with your top authorities to do that. And if you're not able to submit this information within 20 days, this approval letter makes no sense. It's as good as null and void. So it is not done till it is done. So that means it's very, very important. The second case study is from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I told you this is one which you should not miss, because I'm sure Indians are full of ideas. So there was an opportunity of working under One Health concept, and One Health means something which is useful for animals and human beings. So we decided, in fact, in this case, to work on a disease which is called as brucellosis, which affects primarily animals, but also affects human beings. So we submitted a project again for vaccine of brucellosis, and it did come through. So again, you need to follow what is given in the grant, follow what are the keywords again from the grant, and your the success definitely would be yours. And in these COVID times, when we wrote grant for, say, vaccine and diagnosis, etc., there was a 4-page or 4-slide presentation to be made. And within those 4 slides, we had actually to convince the authorities why our proposal is good. So for research, round 1 was proposal which was submitted, but in round 2, they gave us what is expected in those slides. So imagine to convince them in 4 slides without presenting your data. That means you really have to have skills to present this particular data. And what I'm showing now is what they had asked. So we could submit that in time. And of course, as I mentioned, 2 grants came through. Obviously, we had to provide the budget. And fortunately, whatever we had submitted, it came as such without any modification, because we had justified and we had not over budgeted in any case. So again, they asked certain additional documents, including ethical clearances. So this becomes really important. I think with this, I would like to stop and take up some questions if there are any, so that, I don't go overboard.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such an informative session.
My pleasure.
Okay. If you have any questions, please drop it in chat box. Okay. So thank you, ma'am, for giving such an informative session on topic strategies for effective research grant writing. Ma'am has covered different funding opportunities, then national and international funding agencies, one single site to search a different grants, that is indiabioscience.org. What should be the proposal writing strategies, then how to write it. She also has explained the balance between tenure and budget. And lastly, she has shared some case studies of her. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, and my pleasure. I can see one question in the chat box, and that is how topic is decided for analytical section. So I would suggest typically when you are developing any analytical method, grant will be made available to you, but they do not want a me too type of analytical technology. That means if the drugs are official in pharmacopoeia, what they are looking at is if you can do some work on combination drugs for analysis, or whether from say whatever HPLC method is there, if you can move on to LCMS and then show how impurity profiling can be done. So such grants are definitely given. So you can look at either such kind of pure analytical tools, or also you can work along with formulation people. And nowadays it is a challenge. For example, long acting microspheres, people are making it's a challenge to extract drug out of it. So can you develop analytical tools, or can you develop analytical tools for say chewable kind of tablets, some kind of in vitro dissolution methodology? Can you fabricate some methodologies like that? Grants are even given for that. So you can do it with pharmacognosy people, maybe with pharmacology people, also with pharmaceutics people. So go for interdisciplinary kind of a work, and I'm sure the grant would come.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, Modern College of Pharmacy, once again for giving me this opportunity. And definitely, I feel and I hope that with this, many of you would apply for more and more grants, and you'll make our nation proud.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, kindly accept our virtual bouquet on behalf of convener Dr. P.D. Chaudhary, Principal, PES Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigdi, and STDP Coordinator Dr. Atul Phatak, Professor and Head of Department of Pharmaceutics, PES Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigdi, as a token of appreciation and virtual certificate. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Please convey my heartfelt thanks to Dr. P.D. Chaudhary and Professor Phatak also.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you for a wonderful session.
Oh,
Thank you.
so much. My pleasure.